The atmosphere inside the courtroom felt suffocating, thick with tension that pressed down on everyone present. It was the kind of moment where even time seemed to hesitate, where every second stretched longer than it should and every breath carried weight. No one needed to say it out loud. Everyone knew something major was about to happen, and when it finally did, it didn't just stay inside those walls. It exploded outward, sending shockwaves across social media within minutes. As the judge delivered the verdict, the room fell into a strange stillness. In that moment, all eyes shifted toward Chrisean Rock. She stood frozen, her body rigid, almost unnaturally still. But it wasn't her posture that captured attention, it was her expression. Her eyes flickered with something layered and difficult to define. Shock was there. Disbelief too. But beneath that, there was something deeper, something that didn't align with the simple narrative people thought they understood. Within minutes, clips of that exact moment began circulating online. Millions replayed it again and again, analyzing every blink, every subtle shift in her expression. Social media turned into a massive decoding machine, with viewers trying to interpret what words never explained. It wasn't just curiosity. It felt like people sensed there was a hidden story beneath the surface, one that hadn't fully revealed itself yet. But while attention remained on her, another name suddenly surged across every platform: Blueface. His reaction didn't come quietly, it erupted. What followed was nothing short of a digital meltdown. Posts appeared and disappeared within minutes. Cryptic messages surfaced, then were quickly deleted. Some were emotional, others confusing, and a few hinted at something far more serious than anyone expected. Fans scrambled to capture screenshots, preserve fragments, and piece together meaning from chaos. And that's when things took a darker turn. According to various online discussions and insider chatter, Blueface's reaction wasn't just about the courtroom verdict. There were whispers, unconfirmed but persistent, that something else had come to light immediately after the decision. Something private, something never meant for the public. Whether true or not, the idea alone was enough to fuel speculation. Suddenly, the internet wasn't just reacting, it was investigating. Old clips began resurfacing. Deleted live streams were reposted. Past arguments, once dismissed as routine drama, were reanalyzed with new intensity. It felt almost as if the internet had been waiting for this exact moment to connect dots that previously seemed unrelated. But to understand why this moment hit so hard, you have to look beyond the courtroom. This wasn't a sudden explosion. It was a slow-burning fire that had been building for years. The relationship between Blueface and Chrisean Rock had never been stable. From the beginning, it was volatile, unpredictable, and often chaotic. Their interactions, captured through live streams, social media posts, and viral clips, became a constant source of entertainment for millions. But behind the views and trending hashtags, there was always a sense that something deeper was unfolding. Arguments weren't just arguments, they were spectacles. Emotional breakdowns weren't private, they were public events. And every moment, no matter how intense, became content. That's where things get complicated. Because what the audience saw was only part of the story. Behind the cameras, behind the edits, and beyond the viral clips, there were layers the public never fully understood. According to various sources and observations, there were private disagreements, unresolved tensions, and decisions made far from public view. These unseen moments likely shaped the dynamic far more than anything captured online. And over time, those layers began to show cracks. Even before the courtroom drama, warning signs were already there. Old videos resurfaced showing Chrisean in emotional distress, saying things that at the time felt confusing or out of context. Now, revisited under a different lens, those same moments seemed more significant, like pieces of a puzzle that hadn't been fully assembled. Meanwhile, Blueface's behavior added to the unpredictability. Known for switching between calm detachment and sudden intensity, his public presence often blurred the line between performance and reality. Whether through interviews or live streams, His words frequently sparked debate, drawing attention and amplifying the tension surrounding their relationship. And then something changed. In the weeks leading up to the courtroom moment, both of them grew noticeably quieter online. The chaos stopped. The live streams disappeared. The constant back and forth came to a halt. At first, it didn't seem like much, but for those who had followed their story, the silence felt unusual, almost alarming. In the world of celebrity culture, especially for relationships that thrive on visibility, silence often signals something serious happening behind the scenes. And from that silence, rumors began to grow. At first, they were small, comments buried in threads, vague references in posts. But quickly, they expanded. People began connecting past events, analyzing behavior patterns, and building theories. What started as casual speculation turned into full-scale investigation. Then came claims of a serious incident, one that may have led to legal consequences. The details were unclear. Reports conflicted. Some suggested exaggeration, while others insisted the situation was far worse than it appeared. But despite the uncertainty, one thing became clear. Whatever happened, it led directly to that courtroom moment. And that moment changed everything. Because once it became public, it stopped being just a personal issue. It became a cultural event. Every movement in the courtroom was recorded. Every reaction was analyzed. And when Blueface's meltdown followed, it added another layer of complexity. His response didn't feel calculated. It felt emotional, reactive, and deeply personal. That's what made people question everything. Why such an intense reaction? Why the cryptic posts? Why the deletions? And most importantly, what triggered it? As speculation intensified, the internet entered what could only be described as analysis mode. Old interviews were revisited. Past live streams were dissected. Messages that once seemed insignificant were now treated as clues. Patterns began to emerge, or at least people believed they did. Moments that once felt random now seemed deliberate. Reactions that once seemed exaggerated now felt meaningful. It created the impression that the public had only ever seen a surface-level version of reality, while something deeper remained hidden. Some observers began suggesting that the courtroom moment wasn't the beginning, but the climax. The final chapter of a story built on years of tension, miscommunication, and unresolved conflict. And that idea shifted the tone of the entire conversation. Because now, it wasn't just about what happened. It was about everything that led up to it. The internet thrives on drama, but there's a difference between entertainment and something that feels real. As the situation unfolded, that line became increasingly blurred. What once felt like viral content now carried emotional weight. People weren't just watching anymore, they were concerned. And that concern fueled even more discussion. As new clips surfaced and old footage gained traction, the narrative continued to evolve. Each new piece of information added complexity rather than clarity. Instead of answers, there were more questions. Was this a case of misunderstanding? Was there deeper conflict behind the scenes? Or was the truth something no one had fully uncovered yet? At the center of it all remained Chrisean Rock. Her expression in that courtroom became symbolic, a moment frozen in time, endlessly analyzed. Was it fear, realization, acceptance, grief? No one could say for sure. And that uncertainty became part of the story. Meanwhile, Blueface's reaction continued to echo across social media. Whether intentional or not, his actions kept the narrative alive, adding fuel to an already intense situation. Together, their responses created something bigger than either of them individually. A story that wasn't just about two people, but about how modern celebrity culture operates. Because this situation highlights something important. In today's world, private conflict rarely stays private. Social media amplifies everything, every emotion, every reaction, every mistake. And once something becomes public, it no longer belongs to the people involved. It belongs to the audience. And the audience doesn't just watch, they interpret. They analyze. They speculate. They build narratives. That's exactly what happened here. What started as a courtroom verdict transformed into a layered, evolving story shaped as much by public perception as by actual events. Truth became intertwined with speculation. Reality blended with interpretation. And somewhere in the middle, clarity was lost. Yet despite all the noise, one thing remains undeniable. This story isn't over. New details may still emerge, more voices may speak, more clips may resurface, and with each new development the narrative will continue to shift. Because in situations like this, the ending doesn't come quickly. It unfolds slowly, piece by piece. And until the full picture is revealed, if it ever is, the questions will remain. What really happened behind the scenes? What triggered such an emotional reaction? And how much of the truth has the public actually seen? For now, those answers remain out of reach. But the conversation continues. The atmosphere surrounding this story had already been intense, but what followed pushed it into something far more complex, far more unsettling, and far more difficult to fully understand. What began as a courtroom moment quickly evolved into a multi-layered narrative that blurred the line between public reality and private truth. At its core, this situation is no longer just about a verdict or a reaction. It has transformed into something deeper, a collision between human emotion, hidden tension, and the relentless amplification of the internet. Inside the courtroom, everything felt heavy. The kind of heavy that doesn't just sit in the air but presses down on people, making every second feel longer than it should. When the verdict was delivered, it didn't erupt into chaos the way many expected. Instead, it created a different kind of shock, one that spread quietly at first, then exploded outward. Chrisean Rock's reaction became the first focal point, or more accurately, her lack of reaction. She didn't break down, she didn't lash out. She stood still, composed in a way that felt almost unnatural given the weight of the moment. But it was her eyes that captured everyone's attention. There was something in them, something layered, something unresolved. It wasn't just shock. It wasn't just acceptance. It was something in between, something that didn't match the version of events people thought they understood. Within minutes, clips of that moment flooded social media. Slowed down, zoomed in, analyzed frame by frame. Millions of people began searching for meaning in the smallest details. A blink, a glance, a slight shift in expression, everything became a potential clue. But while the world was focused on Chrissy, another storm was already beginning to form. Blueface's reaction didn't come all at once. It started quietly. A post, short, emotional, vague. The kind of message that could mean everything or nothing depending on how you read it. But then it disappeared. That's when things escalated. In today's digital world, nothing truly disappears. Screenshots spread faster than the original content ever could. And once those screenshots began circulating, the narrative shifted instantly. People weren't just reacting to the courtroom anymore. They were reacting to what came after. Then came another post, longer this time, more emotional, more revealing, but still cryptic. Words like truth, silence, and y'all don't even know started appearing. Again, it vanished almost as quickly as it appeared. But again, it didn't matter. The internet had already captured it. And that's when the questions began. Why post something only to delete it? Why hint at something deeper without explaining it? And most importantly, what was he reacting to? Because it no longer felt like he was reacting to the verdict alone. It felt like he was reacting to something else. Something unseen. Something that hadn't fully surfaced yet. As these posts spread, the internet did what it always does. It went into investigation mode. Old clips resurfaced. Live streams from months ago were re-examined. Interviews that once seemed casual were now treated like coded messages. One particular clip stood out. Chrissy, visibly emotional in an older live stream, saying, "I don't really know what's really going on." At the time, it was dismissed as just another chaotic moment in a turbulent relationship. But now, it felt different. It felt like a warning that had gone unnoticed. Suddenly, the past wasn't just the past anymore. It became evidence. Patterns began to emerge. Moments that once seemed random now appeared connected. Fans started piecing together timelines, analyzing behavior, cross-referencing statements. And the deeper they looked, the more complicated the story became. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, at least according to various unverified claims, there were whispers of conversations, messages, and events that had never been made public. Allegations of private arguments, hidden tensions, decisions made away from cameras. None of it confirmed, but all of it fueling the narrative. Then came another turning point. A message began circulating online, allegedly sent before the verdict. Just one line. "After today, everything changes." No context, no explanation, just a statement that felt almost prophetic in hindsight. If real, it suggested something important. This wasn't just a spontaneous reaction. Something had been building. Something had been expected. And that realization shifted the entire conversation again. Because now the question wasn't just what happened. It became what was already happening before we knew about it. As the hours passed, the pressure intensified. Every move, every silence, every deleted post was analyzed in real time. And just when it seemed like things might start to settle, they didn't. They exploded again. Late that night, Blueface went live. At first, he didn't seem like someone delivering a clear message. He seemed tired, frustrated, maybe even overwhelmed. But as he started speaking, it became clear this wasn't just another live stream. There were hints, fragments, statements that felt incomplete but intentional. Yep. Phrases like "I tried to tell y'all" and "people playing roles" started appearing. Not direct accusations, not clear explanations, but enough to suggest something deeper was being implied. Viewers flooded the stream. Comments moved faster than anyone could read. People demanded answers. What truth? What roles? What actually happened? And just as the tension reached its peak, the live stream ended. No warning. No explanation. Just silence. And that silence hit harder than anything he had said. Because now the mystery wasn't just alive, it was growing. Within minutes, clips from the live stream were everywhere, every word dissected, every pause analyzed, every theory expanded. And then came another shock. An anonymous account posted a voice note. Unverified, unconfirmed, but impossible to ignore. The voice sounded familiar, at least according to those who listened. And the message was simple but powerful. Y'all keep focusing on the wrong thing. The truth ain't even out yet. That single sentence changed everything again. Because it reinforced the one idea that had been quietly building throughout the entire situation. What the public had seen so far might only be a fraction of the full story. And that realization pushed the narrative into a completely new phase. Now, it wasn't just about reactions. It wasn't just about the courtroom. It wasn't even just about the individuals involved. It became about the unknown. About the possibility that something bigger, something more complex, was still hidden beneath everything people thought they understood. Social media turned into a battlefield of theories. Some believed it was all emotional reaction. Others believed there was a deeper betrayal involved. Some thought it was misinterpretation. Others were convinced it was something far more serious. Multiple narratives formed at the same time, and none of them were fully confirmed. That's what made it so powerful and so chaotic. Because in the absence of clear truth, speculation doesn't just exist, it thrives. At the center of it all remained two people, one reacting unpredictably, one remaining almost eerily composed. And between them, a story that refused to be simple. Chrissy's silence became just as loud as Blueface's outbursts. People began questioning whether her composure meant acceptance, awareness, or something else entirely. Did she know what was coming? Was she processing something deeper than the public could see? Or was she simply holding herself together in a moment that demanded strength? No one could say for sure. And that uncertainty only added to the intensity. What started as a single moment had now become a living narrative, constantly evolving, constantly shifting, shaped not just by facts but by perception, interpretation, and emotion. This is what modern storytelling looks like in real time. Not linear, not clear, but fragmented, layered, and constantly rewritten. And that's what makes it so difficult to fully understand. Because every new piece of information doesn't simplify the story. It complicates it. As things stand now, one truth remains clear. This story isn't finished. There are still unanswered questions, still missing pieces, still moments that don't fully connect. And until those gaps are filled, if they ever are, the speculation will continue. Because in a world where information moves instantly, but truth moves slowly, the space between the two becomes the story itself. For now, the internet is watching, waiting, analyzing, trying to make sense of something that may not be fully visible yet. And maybe that's the most important part of all. Not what has already been revealed, but what hasn't. The courtroom verdict, once thought to be the climax, now seemed merely the prologue. What truly mattered was what had unfolded behind the scenes. Deleted posts, cryptic statements, abrupt live streams, and whispered conversations that hinted at information no one outside the inner circle was meant to see. Fans who had previously treated this as mere entertainment began watching with genuine concern. Old clips were re-examined under a harsher light. Lines of dialogue, gestures, and social media activity that had once seemed inconsequential were now scrutinized for hidden meaning. Questions about loyalty, betrayal, timing, and hidden knowledge multiplied faster than anyone could answer. Blueface's unpredictable behavior only fueled speculation. His silences seemed deliberate. His outbursts were read as loaded with subtext. Every deleted post, every resurfaced clip, every ambiguous interaction added a layer of suspicion and intrigue. And while the world tried to parse his motives, Chrissy's composed courtroom demeanor continued to haunt the public consciousness. Her calm, almost knowing expression became a topic of endless debate. Did she anticipate what was coming? Was she protecting something or merely processing shock in private? Every frame, every microexpression became a subject of analysis. Her silence was no longer empty. It was a signal, a coded message that something significant was at play. As hours turned into days, a more intricate pattern began to emerge. The story was no longer about simple relationship drama. It involved potential premeditation, private betrayals, and information that certain people had fought to keep buried. Every post, every screenshot, every cryptic livestream was no longer an isolated incident. They were pieces of a deliberately unfolding narrative, a story layered with misdirection, secrecy, and tension. The leaked voice note set the internet ablaze. Within minutes, dedicated hashtags began trending worldwide. Amateur investigators dissected every nuance, the tone, background noise, and even faint voices that could be heard behind the speaker. Suddenly, this wasn't celebrity gossip anymore. It was a mystery demanding answers. Blueface re-entered the narrative in a way no one anticipated. Rather than deny the rumors or clarify the situation, he acted in a way that only intensified the chaos. He liked a single post. Not just any post, but one referencing the leaked voice note directly, stating bluntly, "If this is true, then we've all been lied to." In today's digital landscape, a like is never just a like, especially from someone like Blueface. Every click is intentional, every interaction meaningful. This one action reignited the frenzy. Was it confirmation, a subtle hint, or a deliberate nudge guiding public perception without a word being spoken? Fans immediately debated every possibility, dissecting intent and reading between lines, all while the chaos continued to unfold. Meanwhile, more so-called insiders began speaking. None were verified, but the timing of their claims made them difficult to ignore. One anonymous source suggested that tensions between Blueface and Chrissy had been escalating for weeks leading up to the courtroom appearance. Private arguments, disagreements behind closed doors, and one incident that allegedly crossed a dangerous line were now part of public discussion. The most chilling part, the insider claimed, the public doesn't even know half of what really happened. Half? Let that sink in. If everything already observed, the deleted posts, cryptic live streams, leaked messages, resurfaced clips, represents only half the story, then what makes up the other half? And why has it remained hidden for so long? As speculation grew, the conversation spread beyond fans. Celebrities began dropping subtle hints through their posts, their timing too precise to ignore. One artist tweeted, "Truth always comes out no matter how deep it's buried." Another wrote, "Y'all really be believing everything you see." The statements were ambiguous but pointed, sparking debates over alliances, knowledge, and motives. In this environment, silence became more revealing than any public declaration. Then came an old clip that no one expected to resurface. It showed Chrissy in a private moment, unfiltered under visible pressure. In it she says, "One day, everything gonna make sense but not right now." Originally, this line had felt vague, almost throwaway. But now, framed by the courtroom drama, Blueface's cryptic posts, deleted live streams, and leaked messages, it carried the weight of a warning. She wasn't overreacting or dramatizing. There was calm certainty in her voice, as if she knew a larger truth was poised to surface. Combined with her courtroom demeanor, Blueface's online chaos, the mysterious voice note, and all previously surfaced clips, the situation no longer appeared accidental or random. A deliberate pattern was emerging, a story unfolding slowly, piece by piece, in plain sight, but without context for the public to understand it fully at the time. Then came the moment that finally pushed everything over the edge. Blueface's next post, or more accurately, lack of a post, ignited another wave of speculation. A cryptic update appeared in his feed, deleted moments later, hinting at betrayal and consequences. Fans interpreted it as a signal that critical information had been revealed in private conversations, information that had shattered his sense of control and left him publicly reactive. Every move, every deletion, every vague post added another layer to a narrative that was already tense, chaotic, and multi-layered. Social media had become both courtroom and battlefield, amplifying every detail and demanding answers the public wasn't ready to hear. Observers began connecting the dots between old behavior and the current chaos. Every instance of silence, every cryptic message, every resurfaced clip suggested that the public had only been shown a curated, partial version of events. A larger, darker story had been unfolding behind closed doors for months, maybe years. And the courtroom, the verdict, the viral posts, and the leaked messages were only one part of that story. Fans, investigators, insiders, and casual viewers were united in one certainty: the real truth had not yet emerged. And if the voice note was correct, if the truth really had not come out, then everything witnessed so far was only the beginning of a much larger, more consequential revelation. The intensity didn't diminish. Instead, every resurfaced clip, cryptic-like, leaked message, or ambiguous live stream served as confirmation that the story was far from over. Old footage of Chrissy's private moments and public appearances were revisited frame by frame. Blueface's posts, both deleted and live, were analyzed for every possible subtext. And every piece added weight to the idea that a far more serious narrative was unfolding. A story about secrecy, betrayal, and personal consequences far beyond the public eye. The situation had moved from viral drama to a complex mystery. Public fascination shifted to genuine concern, curiosity, and unease. Every observer understood that the courtroom was only the starting point. What followed, deleted posts, cryptic messages, leaked clips, and the enigmatic voice note, was the real story slowly coming into focus. At the center of this storm, Blueface and Chrissy were no longer just celebrities. They had become symbols of a narrative that blurred the lines between private chaos and public spectacle, revealing how social media can magnify tension and expose vulnerability in ways that were unimaginable only a few years ago. And still, the internet waits. Because the voice note may have been right. The truth, the full, unfiltered, raw truth, has not yet come out. And when it does, it is likely that nothing about Blueface and Chrissy's complicated history will ever be seen the same way again. Just as the internet was struggling to process the flood of information, Blueface dropped another post, abrupt, chilling, and impossible to ignore. The words were simple: "Y'all not ready for what's next." No explanation, no context, no follow-up. Just that ominous line hanging over social media like a storm cloud. The timing was uncanny. After days of confusion, deleted posts, cryptic live streams, and speculation, he chose this precise moment to post something so provocative. It wasn't a casual update. To many, it felt like a threat, a promise, or a stark warning about what was still unfolding behind closed doors. Suddenly, no one knew what to believe. Every new piece of information was no longer clarifying the situation. It was complicating it, intensifying it, making it unpredictable. The pressing question became unavoidable: what's next? If everything the public had witnessed so far was only the beginning, then whatever was coming had the power to completely rewrite the narrative. And according to Blueface's own cryptic words, that next chapter was already in motion. Within minutes, the post ignited an unstoppable reaction. Timelines flooded with comments, theories, accusations, and wild speculation. Fan pages, influencers, and content creators treated it like breaking news, rapidly dissecting every possible implication. At the heart of the chaos, two names dominated the conversation: Blueface and Christian Rock. But the story had shifted. People weren't just reacting, they were choosing sides. And once that divide began, there was no turning back. Chrissy's supporters rallied, digging up old clips, interviews, and live streams. They argued passionately that warning signs had been ignored for far too long. "She's been trying to tell us all along," they insisted. Long threads dissected her past statements, highlighting overlooked moments and connecting dots that most casual observers had missed. These fans were fiercely protective, almost defensive, as if guilty for not noticing the deeper patterns sooner. Blueface's supporters were just as vocal. They shared his past interviews, cryptic social media posts, and live stream moments, arguing that he had been hinting at something larger, something the public wasn't ready to see. One viral comment summed up their belief: "He's not reacting to the situation. He's reacting to the truth finally coming out." Meanwhile, previously overlooked footage resurfaced. One old clip of Chrissy showed her in a private, raw moment, saying, "One day, everything gonna make sense, but not right now." At first, the line had seemed vague, almost casual. Now, against the backdrop of courtroom drama, deleted posts, live stream interruptions, and leaked messages, it carried weight. There was a calm certainty in her voice, as if she understood something the public had yet to grasp. Combined with her composed courtroom demeanor, The clip added another layer to the sense that nothing happening was accidental. The narrative had evolved into a deliberate, layered story. Every deleted post, cryptic live stream, leaked voice note, and resurfaced clip was a piece of a puzzle being revealed slowly, carefully, and publicly. Observers could sense a pattern emerging, one that had been hidden in plain sight but orchestrated with precision. At this point, the stakes were no longer about viral drama. They were about truth, perception, and control. Social media was simultaneously a witness and an accomplice, amplifying every move, every statement, and every omission. Blueface and Chrissy were no longer just celebrities. They had become symbols of secrecy, chaos, and a narrative that blurred the line between private conflict and public spectacle. And still, the story was far from over. Because Blueface's ominous post, "Y'all not ready for what's next," was not just a teaser. It was a warning, a promise, and a challenge all at once. If the full truth had not yet emerged, as the voice note suggested, then everything witnessed so far could merely be the opening act. The public, fans, and even mainstream media were locked in a frenzy, desperately attempting to predict the next development. Every deleted post, every cryptic comment, and every sudden live stream had become a clue in a much larger, still unfolding narrative. The intensity of speculation also brought unexpected consequences. Friendships online were tested. Accusations flew. Allegiances shifted. The split between Chrissy and Blueface supporters wasn't just emotional, it became almost tribal. Every side felt justified, validated by selective evidence, snippets of leaked content, and intuitive readings of social media behavior. The drama had transformed into a complex social experiment, testing not just what the public knew, but how they reacted to uncertainty, secrecy, and digital manipulation. With the involvement of celebrities and mainstream media, the saga had outgrown its original context. No longer just a personal feud or legal issue, it had become a story about influence, perception, and control in the digital age. Every movement by Blueface or Chrissy, no matter how subtle, had consequences. Every leaked message, deleted post, and resurfaced clip became part of a larger narrative, one that the public could only begin to interpret. Even as speculation continued, one fact became undeniable. This was no longer just about courtroom drama or a viral feud. The events, warnings, and cryptic messages suggested that the truth, the complete, unfiltered truth, was still concealed. And when it eventually surfaced, it had the potential to change how the world viewed every interaction, every relationship, and every decision made in this tangled saga. At its core, the story had become a masterclass in tension, secrecy, and audience manipulation. Every post, every deletion, every like, and every ambiguous statement had served to heighten suspense, keeping the public on edge. Blueface's latest warning was both a signal and a promise. The most significant revelations were yet to come. And when they arrived, they could redefine everything we thought we knew about this complex relationship, leaving no one unaffected. If those words are real, this isn't just relationship drama anymore. It's strategy, a cold, calculated game unfolding in public while the real moves happen off camera. Suddenly, every post, every deletion, every emotional outburst looks different. What once seemed impulsive now feels deliberate. Right after a particularly viral screenshot circulated, Blueface went completely silent. No posts, no live streams, no responses. For someone known for reacting immediately and publicly, this disappearance felt unnatural, almost alarming. Silence from someone at the center of a storm rarely signals calm. It signals control, knowledge, or both. Christian Rock mirrored the silence. No statements, no subtle reactions, nothing. Two central figures, global attention, and complete radio silence. That's not coincidence, it's tension building. And tension this intense doesn't fade quietly, it explodes. One last thought. What if the real twist hasn't even happened yet? If even a fraction of these hints are true, then whatever comes next won't just shake the internet. It could completely redefine how this entire story is understood. So stay alert. Something bigger may still be on the way, and when it finally surfaces, we'll be right here, breaking down every detail.